So today's video is in result of a conversation that I was having with a viewer of mine the other day, Alan, who he brought up this knife and he got me thinking, you know what, that is a good knife and I haven't reviewed it yet. Hey, I'm Jay, and if you're looking to buy a knife and you need to see what it's like first before you drop your hard-earned money on it, here's what you got to do. Click on subscribe so I can help you, and remember to click that bell notification so you don't miss a thing. All of the specs that you're currently looking at right now are measurements that I personally took myself, so those of you interested, pause and read. This is the Cold Steel Tuff Light, model number 20LTG, and as usual, we'll get into what I like about this and some of the potential deal breakers. First, let's take care of those size comparisons, and we're going to start out with a Spyderco Delica 4 with the same kind of Wharncliffe blade shape going on there. And how about this, another Spyderco, the Native 5, and let's do the Kaiser Vanguard Mini Sheepdog. And oh, here's one. You know what, I just actually did this review the other day, the ABKT Grunt. And let's do two more. The Kershaw Oh So Sweet, and we'll finish up with a Benchmade. This is the Mini Freak. Starting with the blade, and you're looking at 2.5 inches of Aus 8 blade steel. This does feature, it's a hollow ground Wharncliffe with a high polished satin finish. The blade is 2.9 millimeters thick and a very wide profile width, which I absolutely love, of 1.2 inches. Now, this blade is riding on that combination that Cold Steel likes to use of the Teflon and bronze washers. The deployment is accomplished with just the ambidextrous thumb hole that you see here, and for a lockback, the action on this is excellent. It is very, very flickable, as you can see. I mean, you don't have to flick it open. I mean, it's a small enough blade, but I don't know, you know, it's still fun too. And just to let you know that you do have that capability. Now, the blade will sort of drop shut when you press on that that middle located triad lock, boop, and then it drops, and you just kind of give her a shake and she's closed. Now, once the blade is deployed, I want to check really quick. Oh yes, that is incredibly solid lockup with absolutely no movement in any direction. Let's check the centering. I believe is pretty good. Yeah, it is. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. Now, there are just two areas of some very widely spaced jimping. You can see here on the blade spine, and then just a little bit on the spine of the handle as well. The sharpening choil, very, very well executed by Cold Steel. That's fantastic. Now, moving on down to the handle, the scales are 3.5 inches long of that Griv-Ex. You know, really, it's just a fancy name for a polymer or plastic. The handle is super comfortable, and especially when you're utilizing that forward choil, and you can see I can fit all 4 fingers of my medium-sized hand when utilizing that forward choil. Now, most of the handle edges have been rounded very, very nicely. if you can see there. And now the texture of the Griv-Ex does provide just enough traction to be considered effective. And I really like, if you look here on both sides, well, this one's going to be covered up by the pocket clip, but on both sides you can see there is kind of like this like a concave channel, and I like it because it just adds more possible grip options to the Tuff Light. Lanyard hole slot, excuse me. Oh yeah, there's definitely one of those. Hey, do you guys think it's big enough? Now, I personally do not enjoy disassembling Cold Steel knives, but this one, it wasn't too bad. There's only just the 2 body screws, so it wasn't too bad to take apart. Now, in the pockets, the Tuff Light features it is a 2-position clip for righties and for lefties, but it's only going to be just the tip-down configuration only. I know. The closed width, it is over that 1.5 inch threshold at 1.57 across, with a handle thickness that is under a 1/2 inch at 0.49. Now, I want to go ahead and quickly grab the scale. Let's see how much this is going to weigh you down. Before I go ahead and toss this up on the scale, I just wanted to quickly show you that now, since this is, of course, being a backlock, it is going to be all closed construction. And if you kind of try and look at the inside there, you may or may not see that there are no liners whatsoever. It's just going to be those Griv-Ex handles. So let's see how that affects the weight. Very nice, very nice. 2.6 ounces, which is going to be roughly the equivalent of 1, 2, 3. It looks like 3 AA batteries, or I believe it's very close in weight, and it is, to the Spyderco Delica 4. Now, before we go ahead and get into the potential deal breakers, I just want to quickly remind you to go ahead and click on that subscribe button if you're looking for knife reviews that get right to the point. Potential deal breaker number 1 is going to be regarding the inside edges of the handle, because they are all fairly sharp. No, not enough to cut you, but you can feel it. Next one is going to be regarding the forward choil, and you have to pretty much use that choil, because if you don't, your grip is going to be so far back from that blade, and it leaves, it's going to potentially leave a finger hanging off there. So yes, you have to use it. Now, the pocket clip, and I'm pretty sure that you guys know what I'm going to say about this, and the fact that it's tip down only. I mean, I know, believe me, I know that is a big one, a big deal breaker for most of you, and I totally get that. Next is going to be that closed width. Now, it is at 1.57 inches, which is just a little bit over that 1.5 inch threshold, but it is just a little bit over. The spine of the blade also has some sharpness to it, especially right there with the jimping. Kind of sharp. Again, not enough to cut you. And the last potential deal breaker, the blade steel. Because yes, Cold Steel did decide to go with the AUS 8 for the Tuff Light. And it's okay. So where does that leave us with this knife? Well, let's talk about that. But before we do, I just have a quick question for you, and if you could just respond down in the comment section below, and simply, what is your current favorite knife that features budget steel. I will tell you mine right now is going to be the Ganzo Firebird 760, which, by the way, I have previously reviewed this knife. So at the end of this video, if you look up to the corner and click on the card, you will be able to watch my full review. So the Tuff Light, yeah, you know what? I really do like this knife. Oh my gosh, that grip is just fantastic. It feels like it is like going nowhere. Oh, I love it. Even though I know some of you might just consider this, you know, kind of a fancy ergonomic box cutter. But especially for under $30, which is usually what you can find this for, I really like this at that price. I mean, and now the closer that you get to $30, you know, and the closer you get to surpassing it, because there's some sites that are charging $30 or even a little bit more for this, but the closer you get to that price, the better and better something like, you know, a $20 Ganzo Firebird with 440C blade steel starts to look really, really good. Now, I would gladly pay more money for this knife if Cold Steel stepped up the blade steel a few tiers. I mean, could you imagine this in like S35BN? Oh, I get that. I mean, the price would also then be adjusted accordingly, but that's just how I feel about it. And imagine if they increased the size of this to, let's say like, yeah, like Spyderco Native 5 kind of size. I mean, it would give Spyderco such a run for their money, wouldn't it?